That subject didn't last. That subject did not last very long. As president, I strongly protected Iowa's first in the nation status in the Republican Party, and with me in the White House, Iowa will be the first in. This is going to be the first in many, many years. We're going to do things that have never been seen before. Our country is going to hell, and we're going to take our country back. I want to thank. We're going to take our country back. What's happening to our country is horrible. I don't think we've ever been in a situation like this. We have potential world wars. We have weaponry, the likes of which nobody's ever seen before, ever will. You don't want to see it. You don't want to think about it. And we have a man in the White House that has no clue what the hell is happening. I want to thank Iowa Senate President Pro Tem Brad Zahn. Thank you, Brad, very much. Thank you. Attorney General, thank you, Brad. Attorney General Matt Whitaker, great guy. Thank you, Matt. Senior Advisor Representative Bobby Kaufman. Thank you, Bobby. There's Bobby. He's doing a great job. State Senators Lynn Evans, Sherilyn Westrick, and Dan Dawson. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Iowa Representative Heather Hora and Brad Sherman. Brad, I just want to pay respects to Brad and family. Last time I was here, I was with the whole family, and Brad's daughter passed away very suddenly, shortly thereafter, and a very special family, very special man, and she's looking down on you right now, Brad, and she's very proud of you. So I just want to pay my respects. Thank you, Brad, very much. Sheriff Andy Brown. He's central casting, this guy, I'm telling you. So where is he? He's a big, strong guy. That's it. Central casting with a beautiful family. Thank you, Brad. Thank you very much, Sheriff. Dallas County Republican Chairwoman Kelly Koch. Nebraska, I love Nebraska too. We love Nebraska. I love Nebraska. That's a big contingent. I said backstage, I hope Nebraska's represented here. I guess they're represented. Great state. We won it twice. We won the primaries. We won the elections. It's just great. Well, we won it all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nebraska. Nebraska National Committeewoman Franchon Blythe. Thank you. Thank you, Franchon. And Nebraska GOP Chair Eric Underwood. Good guy, good man. Thank you, Eric. Great job. Great job, Eric. For 7 years, all of us have been fighting side by side to rescue our country from sinister forces who hate it and want to destroy it. You've been watching along with me. We're all watching together, and most of us can't even we don't have any clue what the hell they're doing and why they're doing it. We don't even have a clue, but it doesn't matter. That's what they want to do. And now we are approaching the most important battle of our lives. This January, we're going to win the Iowa caucuses in a historic victory. And on Election Day 2024, we're going to win the state of Iowa and Nebraska. You know, I'm doing a Nebraska event, too, so we'll get you. But it's nice that so many of you are here. And we're going to evict a very crooked president, Joe Biden, from the White House. You know, I took the name away from Hillary. I don't like using names twice. Crooked Hillary. Now I call her Beautiful Hillary, because I wanted to use it for Joe Biden because it's so appropriate for Joe Biden. He's taken money from any country that wants to deal. And we're going to make America great again. Today I want to talk about how we're going to fight, and I think no president has ever come close to me for fighting for farmers and farmers' rights. And we're thrilled to announce the launch of Farmers for Trump, led by Representative Mike Sexton, farmer and chairman. He's a farmer and chairman of the House Agriculture Committee and a great guy, and I want to thank him. Representative Derek Wolf, farmer and vice chairman of the House Agriculture Committee. Great people. Representative Heather Hora, farmer and member of the House Agriculture Committee. And the Honorable David Kerr, farmer and former Iowa representative, and Jeremy Davis, former senior official at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. These are incredible people, and they take care of their farmers, and they know your business almost as well as you know it. I also want to thank some great Iowans, and they've come here and they've joined us for our panel discussion earlier. It was great. Starlin Perdue, Justin Schultz with the Renewable Fuels Association, John Tarks, a fifth-generation farmer and seed dealer. Good money in seed, I guess, John? Good money. More important, good product. It better work, or we're gonna have a lot of problems. I'm proud to be the most pro-farmer president that you've ever had in the White House. We did more for American agriculture than any administration in history by far, and that's been pretty much acknowledged. It's been nobody disputing it. Under my leadership, our Department of Agriculture cut 7 old regulations for every 1 new regulation, saving farmers and taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars a year. We cut, as you know, regulations at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Cut more regulations, generally speaking, beyond the farms, cut more than any president in history by about 5 times. I repealed Barack Hussein Obama's, have you ever heard of him? Ridiculous Waters of the United States rule. You know what that is? That sounds so beautiful. Waters of the United States. It basically, they were taking your property away from you. That's what it was. I said, I'm going to get killed when I do that one. And I had people come to the White House. We had a news conference, and farmers and builders, developers, housing specialists. And these are grown men and women, in many cases women, and most of them were crying. They basically were taking away your property. It was terrible. It had a nice name, but it was a horrible thing that they did. And it was a truly outrageous federal power grab over every ditch and over every puddle on a private land. And you'd have a little puddle, a little water on your land, and they'd call it a regulated lake, and you couldn't get anywhere near it. It was horrible what they were doing. To protect family farms, I eliminated the unfair estate tax or death tax so that if and when you want to give away your farm to your children, and it's your time and you're going up to heaven, but you want to take care of your children, you don't have estate tax to pay. That's nice. Now, I will tell you, if you don't like your child, then it's not going to help you too much. Who cares, right? Is there anybody that doesn't like their child? In which case, I just could save a few words. But most of you love your children, right? So, you know what was happening? You'd leave your farm to your children, and then the estate tax would be so great they'd have to go out to your local friendly banker, who became unfriendly when you didn't pay the interest. And a lot of times they'd lose the farm. They worked hard, but they'd lose the farm. We ended that. And now you could leave your farm to those you love, and you don't have the estate tax. It's a tremendous savings, so thank you very much. And we gave a giant tax cut to family farms that operate as pass-through entities. You know what that is? Which produce more than 90% of agricultural products in the United States. Tremendous tax cut. I ended the disaster known as NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made in the history of our country, and replaced it with the USMCA, that's Mexico, Canada, the best trade deal ever made, a gigantic victory for the American farmer. The USMCA pried open Canada's dairy, poultry, and egg markets for American producers. Now, you know what I'm saying, because I used to come here in Nebraska and other places, and they'd say, they'd say, oh, it's so bad what Canada does to us, what Canada, Canada sounds so lovely, but they really ripped off our farmers and they really ripped off our country. The deal was so good, the deal that we just made, USMCA, that in fact right now Canada and Mexico are meeting at the White House because they want to renegotiate the deal with the Biden administration, and I say don't do it. You had to live with that horrible NAFTA deal. Now you have USMCA where you're making a lot of money, and they want to renegotiate it. So that's always a good sign when they want to renegotiate. The thing is, you don't want to renegotiate. I stood up to China like no administration has ever done before, bringing hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our treasury from China, and when no other president had gotten 10 cents from China, that not one other president before me got anything from China except ripped off. Our country was being ripped off. And when China targeted our farmers, you know about this very well because you were targeted at a level that nobody had ever seen before. I gave those same farmers $28 billion straight out of the tariffs that I was taking from China. I went to our Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue. I said, Sonny, how much damage has China done to our farmers? I said, you got to come back with a number. He came back. He said, it's about $28 billion. I said, well, we're going to give the farmers $28 billion right out of the pockets of China. You haven't heard those things, because the fake news doesn't like talking about them. Look at all those. They don't like talking about them. In fact, when we were talking, the polls are fantastic of us in Nebraska and Iowa and the farm states. The polls are fantastic, but I shouldn't have said it because it was a little bit aggressive, but a few months ago when we were talking about, do you think he'll win Iowa? I said, how the hell can he not? I gave the farmers $28 billion. How the hell do you lose? So I shouldn't have said that probably, but nobody objected because they, when they opened up their mail one day and they got these massive checks, I did everything. I actually wanted to sign those checks, but people said it wouldn't be appropriate, so I didn't sign them. But you know where they came from. They came from me. There was no other president that was going to be doing that, and we got plenty more to do. I got Japan to slash or eliminate tariffs on over 90% of U.S. food and agricultural exports. It was very unfair. France, what they did to the European Union, what they do to us, it's unbelievable. It's not as bad, quite as bad as some of the countries like China, but it's horrible. The European Union was terrible. I dealt with Japan with Abe. Do you know Abe? He was a great man. He was a great man. He was fairly recently assassinated, but we had a tremendous relationship. He was great. He's going to be missed, but we were able to redo the deal with Japan so that they take your farm product. They weren't taking it. And it was great, but the European Union agreed to nearly triple its beef imports and opened its markets to American soybeans and other things that you people grow so beautifully. And we opened it up, but, it's a one-way street. We defend them, and we then get ripped off on trade. That was the story. Let's defend them, and let's also get ripped off on trade. But we were in the process of really stopping that and stopping it in a very big way. I also won our farmers gigantic concessions from South Korea, Argentina, Brazil, Guatemala, Tunisia, Ecuador, Morocco, and many other countries, all of whom were ripping us off and ripping off our farmers and our manufacturers at levels never seen before. In total, I successfully negotiated and renegotiated more than 50 agreements to boost farm exports by billions and billions of dollars, supporting millions of American jobs and supporting our farm industry. And I like to say, and very strongly and proudly, that I fought for Iowa ethanol like no president in history, and ethanol, period, like no president. I issued a rule declaring that E15 would be made available all year round. Remember, it was 8 months. Remember that? And then they came to me and they said, I don't think you'll be able to do this, sir. I said, why not? It didn't make sense. 8 months. And we made it all year round. In addition, I dramatically increased the number of fueling stations where E15 could be sold across the country by letting them use existing pumps. We thought it was all done, and they came to me, sir, they're not allowed to use the existing pumps. They have to go buy all new pumps. That was millions and millions and millions of dollars. I said, what's the difference? Well, actually, the old pumps are better. Okay? I said, do you mean you have to replace them with new pumps? And I said, you don't have to replace them with new pumps any longer. It was a big thing. As a candidate, I made big promises to Iowa, to Nebraska, and as your president, I kept every single one of those promises and actually did much more than I said we were going to do. Much more. And I can tell you that no president has ever fought harder for our farmers than I did. By contrast, Ron DeSantis, have you ever heard of him? He was losing badly. I endorsed him, and he ended up winning. He was losing. He was so low. He was lower than anybody. I said, Ron, let me tell you, if George Washington came back from the dead and he had the support of Abraham Lincoln, you can't get elected. He said, sir, if you endorse me, sir, I'm telling you I can win. And, you know, he fought a little bit along with 200 other people, frankly, but he fought a little bit for when they did impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2, total hoaxes. And so I figured, what the heck? The one that was winning, Adam Putnam, was the head of agriculture in Florida, and he had it made. He was leading by so much. He was already measuring the carpets in his beautiful new office that he was planning to move to. But Ron was losing badly, and I said, all right, let's give it a shot, Ron. I don't know if you can make this. This is a big one. He was so far behind, because you know why? Because he was a lousy candidate. And I endorsed him, and he became like a rocket ship. And he ended up getting the nomination. Then I held a few rallies for him because he was not going to beat the man that he was running against, who at the time was said to be the hottest guy in the Democrat Party. And Ron said, no, I won't be able to beat him. Oh, you'll beat him. And I did 3 rallies where we had massive crowds. I wish we had a rally today. By the way, there are thousands of people outside, can't get in. Great job. But this was really a gathering of farmers, largely farmers. So we wanted to do this a little bit differently. But we have thousands of people, and we're going to come back. We're going to do some really big rallies over the next month and a half. So here and in Nebraska. But so he ended up winning, and then they said to him, they shouted, anyone, look, some people I help, some people I get in. This guy I got in. He was dead. He was dead as a doornail. And I like loyalty, you know, a little loyalty. So three years later, they say, will you run against the president? He said, I have no comment. I said, whoa, no comment. That means he's running. That's what that means. And since then, he became Ron DeSantis to me. And he would be a total disaster. First of all, he's got no personality. You probably found that out because his polls are crashing. He's got no personality. But he would be a catastrophe for the farmers of Nebraska and Iowa and every place else, any place else. I think if a lot of other people also. DeSantis, as I call him, the abbreviation, is a globalist sellout, and Paul Ryan and Karl Rove, acolyte, who's in the pocket of Wall Street donors at the Club for No Growth. Did you ever hear of the Club for No Growth? You know what they call them also? The Club for China Growth. They are the worst. I was with them for a while. We were 61-0. And then we had arguments over a couple of candidates that I liked, and my candidates won. They don't like me too much. Club for No Growth. They're more concerned with China than they are with our country. They would outsource every American farming job to a foreign country. This is what Ron DeSantis wants to do. And it would be a horrendous situation for this state and for neighboring states. DeSantis opposed my China tariffs, the ones where I gave you $28 billion, by the way, and that was just a small portion of what we took in. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. Do you think they like me? Not too much. Very simply, DeSantis sided with the communists in China. I sided with the farmers in America. Does that sound good? That's good. I'm going to use that again. I like that, right? No, I've always been with the farmers. I was with them right from the beginning. That includes ethanol. Every Iowan also needs to know that Ron DeSantis totally despises Iowa ethanol and ethanol generally. He's been fighting for years. Don't forget, he was a congressman, and he was voting against it and fighting for years to kill every single job supported by this very important industry. Ending the renewable fuel standard was one of his top priorities as a member of Congress. He wanted to end it. And if he had his way, the entire economy of Iowa would absolutely collapse, because it would collapse if you did that. DeSantis slandered the ethanol mandate as, quote, socialism. He called it socialism, and called his vicious plan to annihilate the Iowa farming industry as a total no-brainer. Now he's going to come on here and probably say, I'm actually quite in favor of ethanol. I think it's wonderful. You know, one thing about a politician, I learned this long before I ran for office. When they have their initial thoughts, that's what they go back to. So he may have to come in and he may have to say, I love ethanol, isn't it wonderful? But what he's done to ethanol has been very bad. And the people in the ethanol industry understand it. He's bad news. In Florida, DeSantis is famous for his cruel targeting of family farms, not in favor of the farms. In a callous betrayal of farmers, DeSantis recently vetoed over $130 million in farm subsidies, prompting the Florida Agricultural Commissioner to state in total disbelief, this is no conceivable, and there is no conceivable reason to target agriculture in a year when we have billions of dollars and billions of reserves. Agriculture was harmed today by the governor of Florida, and harmed very badly, and it's true. And he's going to do that to Iowa and Nebraska and everybody else, because that's his inclination. If you want to defend American farmers and grow more farm products in the USA, then you should vote for a very fine gentleman named Donald J. Trump. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. By the way, when we're finished, we'll take a few questions, okay? And I'll tell you that now so that this way you can think of some really vicious questions to ask me. You know, if you wait till the end, nobody's ready for it. You just say, any questions, and you leave. But we'll take a few questions. With your support, we will put farmers first. We will put Iowa first. And above all, we will put America first. Under Joe Biden, it has been a nonstop war on American agriculture. You know that better than anybody. Just weeks ago, the Biden EPA slashed ethanol blending levels by hundreds of millions of gallons. Did you know that? Yes. He's trying to raise taxes on farms, reinstate the death penalty, the death tax. He wants to reinstate the death tax, the one I just told you about, when you want to leave your farm to your incredible families, and he wants to reinstate that tax in its entirety. And fertilizer prices are now almost 300% higher than they were just a short time ago. People can't get it. They can't get it. On top of it all, with the insane Green New Deal, Joe Biden is trying to totally kill Iowa ethanol and replace it with expensive electric cars. This is what the people want, electric cars. Everybody wants to drive for an hour and then run out of energy. I'll tell you the only good thing about it, and look, I think it's great. If you want to buy an electric car, good. But if you want to buy a car that happens to be run for something that we have more of than anybody in the world, liquid gold underneath, it's gasoline. If you'd like to, drive for 7 hours without having to stop for 9 hours, go forever practically. But you have to be able to have a choice. If you want an electric car, yeah, you should have an electric car. We're all for it. But if you want another type of car, if you want hybrids, you got to be able to buy. They want to go all electric. In California, they don't call them brownouts anymore. They call them blackouts. The whole state doesn't have any electricity, and now they want to go to all electric cars. These people are insane. They're trying to destroy our country. The only industry that's in love with that all-electric cars, you know what it is? The tow truck industry. Because after driving for 49 minutes and your car is stopped in the middle of nowhere, who do you call? Could you get me a tow truck? Where the hell do I get this car recharged? No. If you want electric, that's great. And if you want gasoline, that's great. Combustion. But it's so crazy what they're doing to our country. That's the least of it. How about the open borders? People coming in by the hundreds of, people coming in, hundreds of thousands of people a day coming in. Terrorists, people from jails, people from mental institutions, insane asylum, which is a step above a mental institution. Within hours of my inauguration, I will cancel every Biden policy that is brutalizing our farmers and our country.